Thank you for checking in on the OMA podcast and Videocast. We're going to do our best to provide great ideas, best practices shared by the OMA team members and partners. Hope you enjoy. Hey guys, I am here on the OMA podcast with our dear friend Kevin McCreary and Matt Schwartzberg. Super excited to have you here, Matt. Matt is with Steinway Moving and Storage in New York City. Matt, thank you for taking time to jump in and share some of your best practices with everybody here at OMA. And what we'd like to do is go ahead and get started. If you could go ahead and jump in, kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your company, and kind of what the first year being part of OMA has been like for you.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Mike and Kevin, really glad to be here. Steinway Moving and Storage. July 4th starts my 28th year in the moving and storage business. Steinway is operational out of Bronx, New York. We have a corporate office in Long Island, and we have 2 warehouses in New Jersey. So we handle the New York City tri-state area in terms of where our trucks and labor works out of. And obviously, we do national work through OMA.
All right. Well, talk to us again. What has it meant? You know, you joined here relatively recently to OMA. What has this first year been like for you, and how's it impact your business?
So we're here about 8 months. You know, I mean, who doesn't want to have a pandemic during your first year in OMA? But experience has been unbelievable. So, you know, I looked at our experience in hitting 3 or 4 major buttons, right? The professionalism has been at the highest level. We wanted to be involved in a group that was best in class. But what I really saw was from the monthly calls to the board calls to the leadership and to the member exchange, a high level of professionalism. Second part that really fits my personality is idea sharing, best practices, sales training, the peer learning, being able to pick up the phone and speak to other sales reps or leaders in companies about what they're working on. The 2 sales conferences blew my mind, Mike. You know, the collaboration and the caring between everyone. The other part is the incredible trust and professionalism that we're getting from the OMA members in handling our work. So we've been doing work all over the country, Seattle and Portland and Charlotte and Texas and Atlanta, and it is just, we've hit home runs in every single job we've done, and it could not have been done without the OMA members. You know, the last part, which is so important to us now, is, you know, what is this going to be moving forward, and how are we taking our OMA experience? Well, it's opening up conversations with our local regional accounts and letting us talk to them about our national capabilities, about being an asset-based solution, about having best-in-class companies. And what we're seeing so much of is, you know, there are companies that won't give us that opportunity as Steinway, but will as OMA. And when I first got in, Don used to talk about that. He said, I go, which way do I sell? And he said, you're going to have to read your people, and they're going to tell you what they want. I'm sure there's many members here who've handled their accounts for years and years, and now has used OMA's resources. Well, we were doing that independently. Now I walk in with such confidence. My sales team has such confidence that they can walk in. We are a partner with OMA. We are the only asset-based solution around who could manage projects for you nationally, and talk about that we're just not regional anymore. We have offices worldwide. It's been really powerful. And it's happened a lot because of our inclusion of Kevin and Mike to the process.
That's great. Hey, Kevin, what does that look like to you? I mean, one, how have your conversations been with Steinway and their team? And then if it was another OMA member listening, how would they, you know, engage in a similar way?
Well, you know, we've had the good fortune with Matt and his team of being involved with a couple really nice opportunities where OMA has been the difference, and we've been able to collaborate together, figure out what is a proper way. Do we go at it as OMA as a whole? Do we go at it as Steinway with OMA as its resource? And it's really cool the way that we can work internally and figure out what's the best approach, because there isn't one size fits all. And so I think that's how it looks. It's whatever the situation calls for. And we have the ability to pivot whatever way we want to go with that. What's the customer want? And, I learned a long time ago that, we may say we have this, and this, and their values, but if the customer doesn't view it as a value, it's nothing. So what you want to do is do what the customer is demanding and asking. And we can do that better, I think, than any of our competition. And we can do it because we got great members that understand that.
That's great. And Kevin, just real quick, if somebody wanted to, do they just pick up the phone and call you? What happens?
Absolutely. You got any question, just like, hey, I got this. In fact, it just happened recently. One of our members has a customer they're doing locally, and in their conversation, they realized that this person handles their business all over the country, and they want to move forward with it. So they looked into Boss to see if there was any registration. They couldn't find it. He called me, and I said, you know what? Go at it. I'll work with our team. I'll work with Mike. I'll work with Doug. We'll figure out. You take the lead. We'll see where it goes. Maybe it's going to be one of those that ends up being a better fit for OMA as a whole. But until then, I'm there as a resource. Let's get it done, and let's get it to the table to where they're looking at OMA as their solution across the country. So it's exactly what happened. Kurt picked up the phone, called me. Simple as that.
Okay. I love it. All right. So we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. So, Matt, we're going to get a little bit more granular right here. We're going to go into your local market. I mean, again, I think in one of our pre-calls, we kind of recognize that your local market is probably bigger than most people's regional markets. That's sort of that metro market of New York City. So would you talk to us a little bit on what you're seeing up until now as far as how the COVID shutdowns have impacted your market, and what just talk to us what's happening in your local market, please.
Yes. So, being the first group that had, the epicenter kind of word, we were really completely shut down. So what we're really seeing in New York, and you're right, Mike, it is as of today, because we've been shifting almost every 3-4 weeks into what's going to open, what's not going to open. But just to give everybody a quick look at what New York is, at least from what our perspective is that we're seeing the work that's going on, and we're busy on pent-up demand. So companies that had projects pre-COVID, they're doing them. And that's a win, because I was worried it was going to get canceled, or they just weren't going to do these projects. So, we're running at 85-90% capacity right now on projects but they were all pre-COVID, right? So that was that expectation, was hopefully the projects were going on. So take that as a win, right? The other challenge, though, is that larger companies are not bringing people back, which means they're not doing anything. So they've decided September 1st, maybe bring back to the office, or maybe even January 1st. And really, we're only mandated, we're only allowed to bring 25% of the people back. And if I showed you a picture of what an elevator bank would look like, it would take somebody 6 hours to get up to buildings. But the challenging part, guys, is the people who are really needing to get out of their leases, people who are looking to make changes when leases expire. So some of that will be good work for us. Decommission, liquidation, reconfiguration, asset management, and storage. But what we're seeing is most of what's happening is on the down, not on the up. It's not expansion. It's okay. We have 2 clients that are looking at maybe shutting down 10 regional offices, and that working from home means we don't need those locations. So what the positive and negative is, right, is that we should have work here as logistics and moving and storage companies on the change of what the office environment is going to look like. And I can reevaluate that when we talk about that in the fall. We're happy to say that in July and August, we have great work, both from OMA members who are utilizing us on their accounts that we don't have in New York, and our pent-up demand. I can make no assumptions. Really, the word would be uncertainty.
Okay.
The word is uncertainty right now.
Can I hit you with a question that we didn't actually, this is one we didn't set you up beforehand. Being in business for 28 years, roughly 1992, is my math right? Somewhere around there. So I think this is your 8th election year, right? Maybe 7th or 8th, somewhere. If I do my math right, it's around there. Is this drastically different? Because what we're seeing in a lot of election years, people are kind of like, rethinking their leases. Is this significantly different than a normal election year?
So I look at it, that's a great point, and it's a good way to look at it, but I'm going to look at it differently, Mike. I'm going to answer the same question. 9/11, financial crisis, here. feel like I've been trained for this my whole career. I feel very at peace of taking it, what's in front of me, and we'll talk about that later on, what's in front of me adding. The uncertainty is different. The mass exodus of New York happened both times. It seems larger now. The unemployment seems larger now. What I've heard this equates to, which is a little scary, is kind of New York from 1970 to 75. That was really in doubt when unemployment was at a very, very high number. I find that the unemployment worries me more, and that the technology changes of people working from home will be a shift of something, because banking and financial could never work from home. And boy, what happened? Everyone seemed to figure it out. What will the office space look like moving forward? What do we as office members need to maybe pivot into when we talk about that, Mike? This looks worse. This looks worse right now.
Okay. Kevin, what are you hearing in general in other markets, specifically when it comes to just like the now impact? We're recording this on July the 1st for anybody that's listening. So we're trying to record very now. What are you hearing for the now market? Is it similar to what Matt's seeing?
There isn't a single answer to that, because it is so much market by market. It is, start at the state level. A lot of it depends upon state, state direction, what the leaders there are doing. And then it goes into cities. And there is a lot of variation. I think that activity is high in relation to what you would expect. But it is activity that is similar to Matt, where it's reactionary to things that change is causing. And so as you look at it, and I think this is where, as member, Matt used the word pivot. Some of our members have pivoted in a big way. They've pivoted into other areas of business. They've gone into cleaning. They've gone into other aspects of logistics and deeper into some of the market segments. But pivoting can be very minor as well, very, very subtle. And that pivot is go deeper within your own accounts. You've got good relationships with accounts that you have. But maybe you haven't been doing all their work. Maybe you haven't been doing some of the work that falls under an O&I umbrella, what your experiences would be, what your skill sets for. Well, that's where OMA comes in two ways. One, we have the resources to help. So if, again, going back to my point about being a little bit uncertain or uncomfortable with talking about the national or regional platform, we've got it. We've got that expertise. I can come in and help. Mike can come in and help. We've got that ability to make you look really good, really fast. So if you can use those relationships, then do.
That's great. Well, that's gonna segue us perfectly into this next section when we want to talk about the communication and sales. Matt, if you could talk to us a little bit as a leader of a company, right? I mean, this is, again, I like the fact that you're battle tested. Let's talk about, what are you doing with your team? How two facets of this question. How are you communicating with your team? Obviously in a remote section or maybe even non-remote, right? But how are you coaching your team to communicate with their customers? Because you are a sales organization. I'm pretty sure that you are a for-profit, hopefully for-profit in 2020 organization, right? So how are we communicating with our team internally? And then what are you doing to really get your team to communicate with your clients? What's happening there, Matt?
So internal, the message is changed every few weeks. And also that actually goes to both parts of it, internal and external. That message changed every few weeks. And, in New York, as it was shut down, we may be speaking to somebody the first 2 weeks, stay in touch, how can we help? And then at one point, nobody wanted to talk about anything because there was nothing that was going on. Then it was this ramp up, okay, how do we then help? How are we getting our message out? How are we changing our PDFs, our LinkedIn, and our messaging out to prospects or to people without overburdening everybody, okay? So what we decided was to try to have a streamlined message, how to send it out every 5 to 6 days, post more personal stuff on LinkedIn. I wrote more personal quotes and pictures and thoughts than I had in the past. But LinkedIn, right? If you're at your desk all the time, LinkedIn was a very powerful sales tool. So how are we going to not overdo and not underdo, play with that? Obviously, we had the Zoom calls, fun things that we do as a company. So we were doing Thursday phone calls for the last 7 years. And those phone calls, they consist of thanking a teammate and then something personal. So connecting with people both on a personal note, and personal meaning like, tell us a book that you read during this time, just to get people to be connected. I sent out, this is July 1st, so I sent out to all my coordinators food baskets for 4th of July that they'll receive at their house. Just small things to continue to stay and let everyone know that we care for everybody. On the business side and sales side, I could make a joke with you, Mike, but we decided to play more golf. Golf has been the only thing that has been outdoors, and we took out a whole bunch of prospects and current clients over the last 2 weeks in this beautiful weather we're having in New York, and we're really connecting that way. And the other message that we're doing, lastly, guys, is it needs to be about positive. Every crisis creates opportunities. So yes, we don't know what the leases are going to be or buildings are going to be next or what this is going to look like, but there's going to be some opportunity here. So we talk about 3 things, right? We want to win the day every day. Okay? We want to be in the game and win the day. 2, relationships matter. We built all these relationships. They matter. Stay in touch. Figure out your way to stay in touch. We plan for the week. Every single week we plan for the week. This team that is operating in a hard scenario. How to deal with New York City and the buildings and everything that's there. Okay? And then for me, as the leader, Mike, I have one eye on the ridgeline. I have one eye on what's next. When we're talking here, we're talking a little bit about what's next. I got one eye on that. And I want to hear that through my peers, through my business contacts, through my OMA members, a little bit about what's next that's going on. But that's my job. That's not my sales team's job. And that's not my operations team's job. They're busy. They have to do this, and they're probably dealing with stuff at home that isn't easy as they're working from home or the kids haven't been in school since March. So I got to be about the future look. They got to win the day.
I love it. Kevin, it's going to be hard to add to that because Matt's such a really fun sales and communication brain to be around. So Kevin, is there anything that you're hearing from other OMA partners that can help people today when it comes to communication sales? Is there anything that was almost nearly quintessential what you just did there, Matt? So sorry to put you in a tough spot, Kevin, but is there anything you're hearing that other members could pick up on that they can do internally or externally to communicate?
Technique, no, but there's something that Matt started with. And I think that if you're looking at those that are doing well, that are being successful in keeping their teams together, it was the word positive, Matt. You said be positive. These guys that are out there, you can just hear it when you're on the phone with them. You can feel it, that they're looking at what opportunities are lying there. So I think when you are, in whatever way you're communicating with your teams, bring a positive message. There's enough negative flowing out there right now. We don't need to add to it. So as leaders, as sales folks, as our leaders to our sales team, let's make sure they understand that, what's good, what's opportunity. Let's get excited about it. We want to follow something inspirational. We don't want to follow something that's, that takes you down. So give a positive message. The other thing is then your sales team, be very positive with your customers. And that again goes back to go deeper with those that the relationships matter. You said that one, Matt. Go deeper with them, get them feeling good about you. Because at some point, something's going to flip. And they're going to remember who made them feel good, not necessarily who knew more. So this is an opportunity to have that positive message. And those that are successful, of our members I've talked to, you can feel it in their voice. So
I love it.
Yeah,
Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin, I'd add to that, and one thing on the positive side. So one of the things was everybody needed the direction. So what we decided was that our pivot was the pivot to OMA. So we doubling down on our national account stuff. We think the big companies are the ones that will spend the money, and will do a lot of services. So we doubled down on our OMA prospecting from our current client base to who we wanted to go after, to who. One thing that we see is that people want to help each other. So if I was looking for a connection into a Fortune 500 company and my friend was too busy to help me before, it's funny how, not funny, but the relationships matter, and that people are looking to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the OMA pivot has been our pivot, and to the other members out there, this is where Kevin and Mike, when we got them on phone calls and collaborated about these projects, it was a game changer for us. For my sales team to feel the confidence of Kevin and Mike behind us, and Doug and everybody else on the leadership team that's behind us, and gave them the confidence to be able to go sell because they knew they had OMA so strong with them.
I love it.
And if I could add just a little bit to that, Matt, how's that when you say Mike and I, how do you use us? Understand that their members are at various places, new salespeople versus experienced salespeople. People understand OMA. There's 3 levels to this. A, we can help educate your organization. If it's simply just let you know more about OMA. The other part of it is we can help train and coach and teach. So getting down into how do you do it. But in the interim, until your team is strong and you're comfortable, let us go and do. Just bring us in. We're an immediate expertise for you. You don't have this learning curve. Bring us in.
Mike was in New York. Mike was in New York. We took him to a meeting.
Yeah.
We weren't even sure if it should be Mike or Kevin. We were a new member. We're like, all right, well, why don't we just take him to a meeting? Yep. And, I know that the travel isn't there, but, what we did was on this, Kevin, and to the other members, like the easiest route is the people who already trust us. Mm-hmm. So we went to our first group in our first 8 months here is who already trusts us. And now we can have this conversation. One, it lets us get our reps in. Like sales is reps all the time. So when we're able to talk to the global real estate people, really the regional real estate people that we're dealing with, and they trust us, that door was easier to open. What that now has given us is the messaging and how we're getting this through. We've personalized all the stuff in the OMA toolbox for ourselves too, to collaborate together to show people that Steinway is part of this worldwide organization for the benefit of company ABC, company XYZ. Mm-hmm. So I know we mix that message every once in a while. Should it be OMA? Should it be Steinway? Should it be OMA? The answer without being is you got to be able to know what their needs are as a good sales rep to listen. And then Kevin and Mike are as cool as cucumbers can be, man. Bring them in, and they won't say anything until last. Kevin may, Mike won't.
Thanks, Matt.
Just so everybody knows, it's definitely Mike Maddox that everybody's referring to. As much as many people listening here are huge fans of mine, I think Maddox is worth. No, all right. So, guys, this is our last little section, which I think is going to be really valuable to anybody that's listening. It could be called Bob and Weave, Stick 'em and Move, or Adapt and Change. So, Matt, again, today being July 1st, hopefully this ages well as a leader for your company. You said earlier, you're keeping your eye out on the horizon. So talk to us about, I don't want you to get your crystal ball out much longer than you're comfortable. So talk to us about what you're doing as a leader of the company for adapting and changing moving forward.
Okay. So I'm going to repeat it because I'll say it fast. Our adapt and change is focus on OMA and focus on national account work, okay? And that our trusted relationships have more in them. We hadn't utilized it. The second part that we're doing is hiring. It's an opportunity to hire great people. So we're hiring A players only, and that goes from sales reps to project managers to installers to drivers. We're trying to upgrade our staff, do it right, okay, and with people who have had either national sales history or installation, driver, warehousing that fits our work. The last part and kind of what we're trying to look forward in, we must do great work. We must do great work. One more time. We must do great work. And the OMA partners have crushed it with our accounts, and we hope to be a great resource for OMA here, because what will stand past all of this is OMA. So if I'm a great resource for an OMA person in the area here, great. If OMA kicks butt on my account, we will get more work, right? So OMA's really powerful for us.
I love it. Thank you, Matt. Hey, Kevin, is there anything else you wanted to add there when you're hearing about our other OMA partners adapting and changing right now?
Yeah, I really just want to leave one message, like Matt just said: do good work. Responsiveness is critical right now. If you listen to this podcast, be prepared to respond as quickly as possible. And I will give you an example. That the CBRE contract, we're getting opportunities there, but they're expecting us to respond quickly. We had one just yesterday, came through for a need today. It was in California. We have this opportunity, short notice. Can you do it tomorrow, July 1st? We need to be prepared as membership to be responsive and to do good work. And I think, the rest will be it'll just follow, and we'll see success in a way that, we'll be happy.
Well, that's great. If there's one takeaway I've got, Matt, and it's one thing that I'm probably going to write on my glassboard right in front of me on the other side of my room here is win the day. I think there's nothing more powerful that you've said a lot of great things today, but if there's one thing people could take away is, man, if you just win today, and then you know what you do tomorrow, you win tomorrow. And that is so, in this world that we're being hit with so much information, that's really cool, Matt. Thanks for sharing that. It was really, really, really powerful for everybody here listening. And thank you to everybody that did listen in. Again, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for being here. And we look forward to seeing you guys on the next podcast. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Matt, thank you very much.
Glad to be here, guys.
All right.
Have a good fourth.
All right.
You too.